All right, we are live. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining me today. First off, just want to say hi to everyone out there in the world of kitchens. Today, I'm joined with Michael from Kitchinsider, and we're going to chat about kitchen terminology, North America versus Europe, or maybe North America versus everywhere. I'm not sure. And talk about those terms, the different words we use when we're talking about kitchens and the things we use in the kitchens, different names for different things, and just chat a little bit. I'm going to bring Michael on here. I really encourage you at some point at the end of this video to check out his channel and go and check him out. He's a great content creator, and we're going to have a great chat. So I'm going to bring him on. You say hi. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's awesome, man. It's so great to have you. We've been planning this for a few months, I think, at least, and it's been in my mind to have you on the channel because when I first seen your videos, it just really the way you present your content is just, I don't know what the right word is. It's good to listen to. It's nice to listen to. It's like it's detailed. It's you're conscientious about what you're saying. I just appreciate your content. So. I really want to bring you on and just chat about kitchens and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So you are tell everyone who's watching just a little bit about Kitchinsider, about yourself, where you're at, and then we'll pick up from there.
So yeah, I've been a kitchen designer, I suppose, for the best part of around probably coming up for 10 years now. And before that, I was actually an electrician and used to fit kitchens and do the electrics for kitchens. And that's how I got into sort of kitchens. I worked for a kitchen company doing the electrics, and then got into designing for them. And then kitchens from then on, really. Worked for different companies, mostly in London, which I've recently moved out of London, but that's where I was before. And Kitchinsider is a website that I built maybe two or 3 years ago. And it was just, I found sort of as a kitchen designer, I was having the same conversations with clients again and again about this kind of same topics. I'm sure you've experienced this as well. And I just thought, gosh, there must be something out there that, people could go online and find the answers to these things. And there are other websites, of course. Mm-hmm. But I just thought it would be nice to have a resource for people and share all the stuff that I've learned over the years and kind of continue to learn. And so, I just started writing, hopefully, helpful, informational bits and pieces about kitchens and these kind of questions and answering them. So people have got a resource to check out if they're, having a new kitchen or renovation, whatever it is that they're doing. So, and it's just grown from there, really.
Well, it's working because I first really discovered your channel and your blog, your website, when I was looking for information on Japandi.
Right.
And Kitchinsider came up at the top of the list in Google search. So it's definitely working. And that's sort of what led me down to finding your channel, finding you, which I'm thankful I did. And also it helped me learn about what Japandi was. So like the content of the blog is really good on the website.
Cool, thanks. Yeah.
And then I was trying to look for kitchens of Japandi, but I was like, I didn't want to steal them from your blog, so I was going to other places because I want to respect your website. So I was like, I got to look for other pictures, but there's only so many pictures out there.
Yeah.
But so that's great. And you've also have another blog that you started.
As well. More recent. It's still little, still growing. Similar thing to Kitchinsider, kind of advice and design inspiration, things like that, but for bathrooms.
Right.
And that's called the Bathroom Blueprint.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, the bathroomblueprint.com. Like I say, it's still in early stages, but It's there to check out.
That's a great name. I love it. Bathroom Blueprint.
Yeah, the Bathroom all one word. Because as well as kitchens in some previous roles, the companies I worked for also did bathrooms and bedrooms.
Yeah.
So I've done, bathroom design as well over the years. Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool. We're going to jump into some of the content for today. So what the idea that we had was to bring some different words that we use, because one of the things I noticed when I was listening to you is just that you had different terminology for things because of where you live. And where I live, there's other terminology, but we're talking about the same things.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it would be interesting to talk about that. And I'm sure if anyone's watching, and hi to everyone who is watching, I see a few of you on there now, and just thanks so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions at all or any comments for Michael through this whole thing or myself, please put them in the comments in the live chat, and we'll be happy to try to help you out or answer your questions, or in the comments below later on when this goes to replay. So we wanted to bring some words, some specific kitchen related terms, and the biggest one that I wanted to bring up, because it was the one that I think is the most different. So we're going to start with that one first. Is this word right here, a hob? And I went looking, Michael, in the dictionary for a hob, and I couldn't find anything kitchen related to a hob. So I wanted to get for all of us North Americans, and I know I see someone from Sweden watching, so I wanted to say hi. Thank you so much for tuning in. Probably very familiar with the word hob, but in North America, just not a term we use. So break that down to us. What is a hob?
I think the simplest way is a hob is a cooktop, right? That's your word for
cooktop. Yep.
Something that sits in the countertop, worktop. I think we'll come to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that one later.
That's not an all-in-one thing. It's its own thing on the top. So induction, gas, ceramic, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was the biggest one. I was like, hob. What's I do looking up. Well, I mean, I watched your video to figure out what a hob was, but it's just not a term I used before because, well, we would call it a cooktop. Right. And then that led me to ask then the question, well, if you call a hob as a cooktop, now, do you know where the word hob came from? Like, do you know why you guys call it that?
I don't actually. No. Okay. Yeah, that's one I don't know.
Okay. That was what I was wondering, where the term came from. If anyone out there knows where the term hob came from, I'd love to know. Because I did look it up in the dictionary, and it's not anything to do with a kitchen. And so I find that fascinating because different places, would have different words that they use, and they come from somewhere. I just did not know. So then we would have a range. Like I would use the term range in my kitchen,
right?
Which is basically a cooktop and an oven, like the whole unit. What do you guys call that?
See, that would depend how big it is.
Okay.
So it would either be a cooker or it would be a range cooker, depending on how wide it was. So
a cooker would be how wide?
A cooker is between, I'm going to talk centimeters.
You're going to lose me.
I'm going to lose everybody.
No, not everyone.
A cooker is typically between 50 and 60 centimeters wide. So it's smaller. I'm going to Google. I need a converter thing. Yeah, I can't work it the other way around.
All right. So let's go centimeters.
Yeah, so 50 bins, the most common one is probably 60 centimeters, I would say. But yeah, you can get smaller. Between 50 and 60 centimeters is a cooker when it's an all-in-one, oven at the bottom, hob, cooktop on top, all part of the same thing.
Oh, okay. So that's 24 inches for anyone who's listening. So, okay. And that would be your range, like cookertop and oven.
Yeah, if it were all in one, that's a cooker. And a range cooker is wider. So a range cooker, again, typically the standard size is a 90 centimeters, a meter, and 1.1 meters. You can get bigger as well, but they're the most common. So a range cooker is wider and a cooker is smaller.
So the range cooker is how wide?
Between 90 centimeters and 1.1 meters. Again, the most common one is usually a meter. I always tend to, if I'm doing a standard thing, I'll drop in a meter range cooker. So that's the most common. So what is that? Is that not a range cooker for you?
For us, a cooker, like all in one unit, is generally 30 centimeters, which is going 30 inches. I was
going to say 30 centimeters.
Yeah. 76 mil or
centimeters. Well, that's in between the two for us, isn't it? Yeah. That's weird. That's
30 inches is if you're going to buy a range or a stove. Those two terms mostly are interchangeable. They mean the same thing, and I'll use them in the same conversation.
Range and stove. Sorry.
Range and stove. Most people will understand what I'm talking about, because otherwise and those are all that 30 inches, that's 76 centimeter. That's the standard across the board. Every kitchen that we would design would have that standard size. If you're going to go smaller than that, you can get it. We still call it a range. We just call it a 24-inch range, and it would be more for an apartment or something like that. Very rarely would I have ever designed a kitchen that had that small of an appliance, though they do exist, and they tend to be a little more expensive because they're not as popular. So interesting. So you would have two words for two different things depending on the size.
Yeah, generally. I mean, I'm just thinking now. I mean, you can get. I know I've said it. Like small range cookers, like a 60 centimeter range cooker, which would normally be. Normally you'd think it would be a cooker. It depends on also kind of, I suppose, the style as well. There are certain brands that brand a 60 centimeter range cooker, maybe because it's got more of a freestanding range cooker feel to it. But typically, range cookers are wider.
All right. So hob and a range cooker, they're just cousins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two totally different things. So what's more popular, like in for you, if you're designing a kitchen, what's the more popular thing
gosh, I mean, so many of, but I'd say probably hob and separate ovens, like in a tower cabinet, tall cabinet, whatever.
Okay.
That combination is probably slightly more popular, I would say. But I do both all the time.
Okay. And an oven is an oven.
An oven is an oven. Yeah, an oven is, when I say oven, it generally means like a single or a double oven where it's built into a cabinet.
Right. Okay. So an oven is an oven here as well.
Right.
All right. So we just have to figure out the hob and the range cooker and the
hob. That's the difference, it seems.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's pretty interesting. I just like the idea that we call different things, and
yeah, I find it interesting.
Same thing generally.
Your standard is not ours. It's in between the two, which is interesting.
Yeah. That's good to know. It's good to know so I don't mess up a design for a client overseas, which can happen. Okay, let's do the next one. So that was the hob. I want to say hi to everyone who's watching. I see some comments rolling in. So I'll read some of these in a little bit. Let's talk about this word. This was the other one that I didn't really
okay.
I actually never used before.
Right.
Larder. What's a larder?
So I suppose it depends. Nowadays, I suppose the word larder and pantry, which I don't know if you might use over here, at least now, they're pretty much interchangeable. They're kind of, we're talking about pretty much the same thing nowadays. And a larder, it's just typically like a bigger cupboard, usually a full height, usually double door, but it doesn't have to be. It depends how much space you've got.
Right.
Big storage cupboard, for all your dried goods and things like that. Sometimes they'll have a bit of a worktop inside to do things, but it's a real big, like a big storage cupboard, if you like. And I think it's a historical thing over here, a larder.
A larder,
So historically, it would probably be a room in your house, usually at the kind of, sometimes outside, but the end of your house, usually north facing with an outside wall to keep things cool.
Wow.
And it's the word lard and larder. So lard, butter, cold meats, things like that. This is before refrigerators. So that would be the larder in the house, and it would be like a storage place for those kinds of things. So that's where the word comes from. But nowadays, obviously, we've got fridges, and we don't need to do the same kind of storage. So that's where I think, because pantry is slightly historically, so I'm a total nerd on kitchen stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Pantry is a slightly different thing. Pantry would be for, it's not necessarily for cold goods, it would be for dry goods. And again, I think somebody's going to correct me here. I think that comes from the French pan, which is bread.
Okay.
So a pantry would be for like breads and dry goods and stuff. Again, like a cupboard or kind of place for that. And then later on, it became, over here, it was referred to as a butler's pantry.
Yeah.
And that would be to store not only sort of like some dried food and stuff like that, but knives, forks, crockery, things like that. And then fast forward to today, those two have kind of combined. So now I would use them interchangeably to mean something that does store like your dried goods, or it could be, you know, that you've got like your coffee machine in there as well, that you, or, you know, it's just that area for general storage. You could, you know, some plates and bowls could be stored in there as well. It's just that kind of good storage place.
It's really interesting to hear the historical part. Like,
I hope I'm right.
Yeah. Well, the internet's, they'll correct
the internet
you.
will correct me. Absolutely. Yeah.
They'll correct you if you're not. But even if you're not right, it sounds really great. So.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really interesting because we would use the word pantry, and we would use the word a walk-in pantry.
Right.
Not often would we even use the term butler pantry. That wouldn't be something we'd use a lot, at least in my geographical area.
Mm-hmm.
But larder, not at all. Now, when I looked at, if I type a picture of a larder, it looks more like what I would call a hutch type of cabinet, which has like a worktop and, you know, storage, something like that. But now I've heard the term larder fridge. So is that a specific type of fridge?
So a larder fridge is just basically a full height,
door fridge.
Fridge. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. That's cool. A larder. I'm gonna start using. I'm gonna do a video. I'm gonna do a video on larders. What's interesting about the north face wall? I'll look up. I'll find it on Kitchinsider on the website. I'll just use that as a script. Yeah, that stuff's interesting, especially like where the room had to be facing and those types of things.
Yeah, I think historically it tends to be that's the kind of like shady side, you know, colder side, and it would have an outside wall. It would be up against the outside wall, right, to help keep things cold.
For cold, yeah.
I can see a comment for raw meat. Somebody's put like, like that historically. It's that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's neat. That's really cool. All right, let's go on to the next one. Larder. All right. I mean, the rest of these are fairly interchangeable, but you guys, I've heard you use this term before, the worktop, and obviously, I think we're talking about what I would call a countertop.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think just I think your term is better.
You prefer
overall.
Worktop. I use both interchangeably. I can't pick one. I think just, especially since historically, I suppose I would call it a worktop. That's how I got trained. That's what it was called. It was always a worktop. But then working for certain companies in London, they liked using posher phrases for things.
Okay.
And so it kind of like I use countertop then when I was working there. And writing from my website, because I have readers from all over the world. Like sometimes I'll write a whole post calling it a worktop, and then other times I'll write a whole post referring to it as a countertop, depending on kind of the subject matter. So in my head, I use both for that.
So countertop is posher.
I would slightly better brandable, I think, countertop.
Oh wow, okay. I could see why.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Worktop is very much like that's what you're doing with it. Like it's for working, it's for prepping food, it's for whatever, and it makes sense to call it that. But I noticed that in some of your videos you call it worktop, and that was one of the things, because I have never called it that.
Right. Always countertop for you.
Always was countertop.
I did wonder if there's anything else you would call it. But.
Though I will say we will call it a work surface.
Right. Yeah.
So kind of the same thing. Now that I think about it, we do use that term, but we use it more in the sense of if you're buying a countertop for a work surface,
right?
You're not buying a work surface, you're buying a countertop. But that's a good one. This next one, I've seen here an inset sink. Now, I don't know if you use these terms, and you have terms for sinks as well. You just mentioned it in your video. I think you put out yesterday or the day before. You were mentioning a Belfast sink,
right?
Which would be a farmhouse sink or an apron sink. In fact, here's a little history for you.
I was going to hit you with a history. Go on, I'll hit
you with the history.
What if it's the same
you
history?
Can tell me if I'm wrong, because the two types of farmhouse sinks were a Belfast and a London. Am I correct?
And a butler.
Oh, well, on your video, but there's a London.
Oh, there's a London. Okay.
There's a
Oh,
London,
this is
and
good. I don't
there's
know this one.
okay. I'm gonna give some little history, folks.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a London and there's a Belfast.
Right.
Because the water was great or better in Ireland or in Belfast, that sink had a drain, like an overflow drain.
Yep.
And the London sink did not. It was meant to be filled up because the water wasn't as great in London. So you'd fill the water up. And so that's just a little bit of history. But they're both an apron front sink. Now, they're not inset sinks. So what is an inset sink?
An inset sink, I'm trying to think what you would call it. Maybe a lay-on sink, one that sits on top of the worktop. Yeah.
All right.
So there's like a little lip, and it's it's not under it or flush. It kind of sits on top.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we'd call it a drop in.
Okay.
Yeah, a drop in or a top mount.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, top mount.
Yeah, top mount or a drop in.
Yeah.
Whereas an undermount, I think you call it an undermount.
Yeah, an undermount. Yeah, so you could have inset on top. You can have flush, so where you'd have to route it out the worktop and it sits flush with the worktop, and then undermount. They're the kind of the three types.
Okay, and then
obviously butler bell, or whatever you want to call it.
Butler sink. So what's your go-to word for a farmhouse?
I would say probably it's Belfast or Butler.
Okay.
And you're exactly right. That was I was going to say the same thing, my history lesson, but the Butler, I think, is probably what you refer to as a London sink.
Okay.
So that's the one that, didn't have the
overflow.
Yeah, the overflow. Yeah, and that historically, that was the difference. These days, again, it's one of those things. It's interchangeable. Right. They pretty much both always have an overflow. It's quite rare. I mean, you can get them still, but
yeah,
it's rare to find one without an overflow because you don't want that overflow.
That's interesting. Yeah, because most of the sinks that I would see don't have overflows here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Most of the sinks I'm familiar with.
As in a farmhouse style sink?
Well, no, maybe not in a farmhouse style, but I've seen those too. No overflow. A lot of sinks are just a basin.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, with no overflow.
So you just flood your house if you left it running.
Yeah. It's true. It's same as any sink, like a stainless steel sink, almost all of them.
You just don't have the overflow.
No overflow. No. Which doesn't make sense, right? When you think about it, it should have an overflow
not very good safety,
for that reason, because I've had to redo kitchens for insurance purposes for clients.
Yeah. Because
of an overflow of the sink. And interesting. We'll have to figure that out maybe.
Yeah.
Couple comments here. We can never have a big enough pantry or a larder. Many who sets are in the close in the month. Like one in, but left so small. Yeah, I agree. If you're going to have a walk-in pantry, it's got to be big enough that you can move around in there. Because I've seen floor plans for designs, home plans, and the walk-in pantry is so small. It's basically a closet, but you're wasting a lot of space with the framing and whatnot. So I agree. The bigger, the better.
Yeah, if it's just a doorway that you stand, like it's
it's a doorway. You can't actually walk in. All right, let's keep going to the next one, inset sink. So this is something that we in North America would say, and you wouldn't say. So I want to get your take on what this is, because we have these things called European style kitchens. When I was first getting into the industry, this term has been around for years. It's years old. When in North America, at least, most cabinets are made with a stile and rail and a door. So we'd call a framed cabinet.
Right.
There's a frame door on top. And that was the way it was for a long, long time. Then we started seeing these European style cabinets, is what we'd call them, that were what's called frameless. So it's a door that full overlay, the cabinet box, there's no frame. And that is the predominant style now in North America for the last 20 years. More and more and more and more people, more companies, and of course with companies like Ikea, but there's all kinds of RTA companies and custom manufacturers that are now building strictly European style kitchens.
Right.
What do you call a European style kitchen? Like just a kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's our standard kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's if you want to call it like a lay-on door, like you say, it's on the cabinet front itself. There's no framework around it. It kind of, the door covers the cabinet, sort of frame itself. Yeah, that's the most common. That's the standard, if you like. And then we would have, like you said, frame it. I call it an in-frame kitchen. That's the kind of most popular alternative, really. So you just have a standard lay-on or an in-frame.
An in-frame is what?
So I think that's yours. So you'd have the door sit. There's like a frame around, yeah, and the door sits kind of there. And when you open the door, there's a bit of like stuff, kind of frame style or whatever you would call that.
So now there's another type of kitchen style that is inset. So the frame and the door, like they're the same, like they're flush. What would you call that?
That's what I'd call an in-frame kitchen. Yeah,
that's an in-frame. Okay. So what I'm talking about is the door is on the outside of the frame, and it overlaps the frame.
I've never done one.
No. Okay.
No.
Yeah, that's a very popular. Even still, it's very popular style of kitchen.
Not really a thing for me, at least. In the last, I would maybe it would be a bespoke job if somebody really wanted that, but it's just not done really here. It's, like I said, like a standard one for us is what you'd call a European style, or in frame, but that's the door is in line with the frame that sits kind of on the cabinet, sort of thing. Okay,
interesting. You just said a word that I wanted to bring up. That
oh wow, quick there.
Bespoke. What's that's not a term I would use. What is bespoke?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I guess custom. That's probably the closest thing. Yeah, right. Made to order. Something a little bit, something non-standard. Would be bespoke. Yeah. So various kitchen companies I worked for, they would have like a bespoke team, or I'd have capabilities to make a cabinet totally different dimensions, and they could do that, but that would be a bespoke order as part of it.
So I've been a bespoke kitchen designer for 20 years. I didn't even know it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was my whole life's mission, was bespoke cabinets.
Just sounds better.
I'll tell you what it sounds. It sounds much more posh.
Sounds posh, yes.
Than custom. I might start using some of these terms, try to bring them into the vernacular here. I see a comment here, interesting, that kitchen sinks no longer have an overflow, but bathroom sinks do. True. All of our bathroom sinks in North America have an overflow. All of our tubs have an overflow.
Yeah.
But the kitchen, no, forget
Interesting.
about it.
I wonder why. Like, if it's just...
Well, there'd be less insurance claims, and that means less money.
I see. It's like that, is it?
Probably, yeah. So European style kitchen, which because of this word, the European hinge, because a framed kitchen, what I call a framed kitchen, has what we call a butterfly hinge.
Right, yeah.
Or, it sits on the outside of the cabinet. It might have an inset, a 3/8 inch inset, or whatever. It could be flush mount. And so you'd see the hinges on the cabinets, and that was a common look. They'd be brushed nickel or brass, or antique brass was the go-to for years. And the European style cabinets came with a European style hinge, and they became like soft close, and they're, companies like Bloom and other companies like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really revolutionized that industry. So now in North America, that would be a very standard, common go-to. 90% or more of the kitchens I design and have designed over the past number of years have been European style, or kitchens.
Normal kitchens.
Normal kitchens. All right, these are 3 words in a row that
you don't use any of these?
We would use them. I don't use any of these words. I don't want to say nobody in the North American cabinet industry does not use these. I'm sure there are some. It's just not as common
Yeah.
terminology. So what is a plinth, a cornice, and a pelmet?
So I probably don't know the American equivalent, but for all of them. But a plinth, I think that's what you'd call a toe kick. Or kickboard. So at the bottom of the kitchen, underneath your base cabinet, slightly recessed back, that's your plinth. That kind of covers that gap there.
Okay.
The cornice, that's at the very top of your wall cabinet. So that's like that decorative finish that you can get. And again, depending on the style of the kitchen, that could just be like if it's more contemporary, like a kind of just square kind of top bit to it, or if it's more traditional, the kind of curved, more ornate cornice. And the pelmet, or a light pelmet, it's the other kind of word for it. That's at the bottom of the wall cabinet. Again, kind of decorative, historically kind of thing that kind of drops down lower than the door itself.
Right.
But helpful for hiding under cabinet lighting. That's what's sometimes called a lighting pelmet.
Yeah. So we would call it a light rail.
Okay. Yeah.
Or we'd call it a light valance. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
A light valance, or light rail. Cornice would call a crown molding. And a plinth would be toe kick. So very interesting. These also sound much posher, which I like.
Is it just the accent? Is it just the British accent that
Maybe. I don't think so. I think the words themselves sound like they sound really important.
I think it's kind of from a kind of more cabinet makery sort of.
Yes,
call them, like
I think so. Furniture cabinet, yeah.
And I mentioned before we were talking about as well, plinth is the one at the bottom that's recessed back. But if it's if it's forward or just set slightly forward from the cabinet door, but still covers it, that would be called a skirting.
Right. Okay.
So usually more traditional kitchens might have skirting or plinth, and then more of the European kitchens, that would be a plinth.
Okay. So I love this conversation, by the way. It's great. It is so interesting, just the different terminology. And I'm gonna try to use these words. When I do it though, it doesn't sound like I know what I'm talking about. So that's the problem.
But when you're doing work for customers that aren't in North America, because you do people for all over, that's when you've got to start dropping these words in.
I'll keep those in my back pocket. Yeah. So would you like a cornice for this?
Exactly. You've got to ask these questions. Yeah.
This guy knows what he's talking about.
What style as well.
Would you like a Belfast or a London? What are we doing? Yeah. Just a quick question, a basic question about behind the scenes. How common is on-demand hot water heating in the US? Not that common, but I'm not in the US in particularly, but in North America, I think it's becoming more common. I should say my grandmother on her farmhouse had a hot water, instant hot water tap years ago. So it's definitely not something that's new, but I don't think it's generally as prominent as maybe it is in Europe. Is it very prominent where you're at?
I'm not quite sure. So on demand, as in having
a boiler tap?
Boiling water tap.
Yeah.
They're becoming. That's. I think I did a video on that. That's.
You did, yeah.
More and more. That's becoming more and more popular over the last few years. Yeah, it seems to be on pretty much every client's wish list if it's in the budget, because that's the thing. They're not cheap.
Yeah.
But they're a definite wish list item. Yeah.
Well, we chatted about the maple syrup tab.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting for that one. Waiting for that to come. Yeah.
In Canada, it's going to happen. Well, it's actually a thing, because in the trees in my property out back, used to be a farm, and they've tapped the trees.
You can literally just tap into them.
So
nice.
The trees are tapped.
Is that where you have like a string or a wire that they kind of drip down and?
No, my friend actually does it.
Right.
And he's got hoses hooked up to it.
Oh, okay, cool.
And the hosing goes to the buckets, but yeah, it's a tap in a tree. So
yeah.
I guess that's already a thing.
That
one. All right, here's another one I've heard you use before, and of course we all know what this is, but we use it in different ways in a kitchen. Timber. Something I say when I'm cutting a tree down. What do you say? What is a timber?
Timber is probably most commonly, when I say timber, I'm talking about, I was going to say worktops, they're countertops. As a material option, timber, right. I'd say timber tops. Right. So, you know, oak, walnut, whatever, huge host of finishes. For
but
timber.
You're not talking about a butcher block.
I can do. A butcher block to me is the style of the worktop. So that would be, it could be like an end grain butcher block where it's smaller bits that are kind of fixed together, or we talk about, that's more about this, your options of timber worktops, you know, the staves, so short staves, long staves, you know, rustic, finished, primed, all these things. I could, so many different options of timber tops.
Live edge, like plank, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's hit or miss around here as far as popularity. It is popular. Places like Home Depot around here will sell. You can go buy a plank, of wood, live edge wood, and they're trying to make it something that's, you know, the average person can just go purchase off the floor type of thing. But okay, so timber. I would never call it a timber. Not a term that we would use.
Yeah, timber. I suppose it's just, I don't know. Maybe that's
makes sense.
Maybe that's me. Or I suppose wood worktops as well. You know,
I like it.
I might say that, but timber just means, you know, that whole family of options there.
Okay, cool, awesome. All right, let's go back here for a minute. Oh yeah, we wanted to talk about. Oh, yeah, I had one more. Do I have it here? Let's see. Maybe not, but I'll type it in real quick. We chatted about this beforehand. Talking about curtains, the Valance.
Yes, yeah. This one threw me. Yeah.
Okay.
Did not know that.
So Valance, as far as how I would use the word Valance in a kitchen, is either a board that goes between two wall cabinets, normally over a sink, or like I said, a light valance. So it's basically just a board that would go underneath the wall cabinet, and it could be arched or straight or scalloped or some kind of design. And normally in a kitchen, it would be one for just the look, the particular look, and a lot of the times it would be to hide a light fixture.
Right.
So over a window, up underneath there'd be a light fixture, and this would cover the light fixture. But you don't call it that. What do you call that type of thing?
So I would call that a flyover.
Right.
Rightly or wrongly. Especially, but when it's between two wall cabinets, like you say, sometimes over a sink or something. But you have a piece that connects it. That you could also run. That also helps if you want to continue the cornice, or what did you call it? Crown. Crown molding. Yeah, kind of. To keep that kind of look all tied together.
Yes, yeah.
That bit the other bit of it, I would call a flyover. And you could put in a light or something in there if you wanted to have a downlight or something. It's something to put that in, but it's tying those pieces together.
Are those popular? Is that a popular thing?
Not so much these days, I would say. I can't remember the last time I kind of included a flyover.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And the reason I think it's not as popular is because of European style kitchens. Right. It's not something that you normally, or at least I would normally see. And over the years, less and less people we've put in, like we would just return the crown into the wall.
Exactly. Yeah.
And leave it. It seemed to be a little more open, or even now a lot of people aren't going with crown molding like they used to before, or cornice.
A different, or at least they're going, I'd say, slightly more contemporary. So if they do have a cornice, because it does finish the look slightly depending on the style of cabinets, it might be more of a contemporary cornice rather than a traditional.
Am I saying it wrong?
I don't know. What did you say?
A cornice.
Cornice, yeah. Cornice or cornice.
A cornice. That sounds much better. A cornice.
Depending where you're from in the UK.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. All right. That's the worst thing, is like I'm probably mispronouncing some of these things horribly wrong. That's funny. Hey, Matthew, good to have you on, man. Appreciate you watching. We have an on-demand hot water and love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also mentioned before one of your videos, I think it was a video and not a blog, a sparkling water tap, which that would be really cool. I like the idea of that.
Same sort of thing, and now there's it's probably the most popular brand for boiling water taps over here is Kuka.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Kuka.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't say no. I've heard of it, but
they've been my go-to forever. Highly rate them.
awesome.
But yeah, they came out with must be a couple of years ago now. It's called the Cube.
The Cube.
The Cube, yeah.
Okay.
Where it's a thing that sits underneath, but it means you can have, so as your normal hot and cold tap.
Yeah.
Then it can also do filtered cold water, boiling water, and sparkling water,
The
all
Cube
out of one tap.
awesome. I bet the Cube is expensive.
The Cube is not cheap. And obviously you have to keep replacing the filters and the CO2 for the sparkling. So there is upkeep as well, which adds to the cost. But yeah, man, it's a cool tap.
Sounds
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
So it's one tap with three functions.
Well, I guess 5 technically.
It's 5 taps. Oh, okay. It's everything.
One tap with everything in.
Wow.
So hot, cold, filtered cold, boiling, sparkling, and just how you interact with the tap, it produces different things. Yeah, but all out of the one spout.
I'll have to look for the Cube. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's not. It's a couple of grand so for the whole kit. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That was another thing that popped to mind. I don't know if this is on your list. If you want to.
Yeah. No, bring it up. Anything at all.
Somebody mentioned to me. I say the word tap. And I guess isn't it faucet? I don't know how you say it. Faucets. Do you call them that or taps?
We call it both, a faucet or a tap.
Yeah. Right.
If I want to sound posh, I'll call it a faucet.
Yeah, that sounds better than tap, doesn't it?
If I'm just hanging out with the construction crew, maybe. Not that they're not posh. No offense to the construction crew. Normally, you'd call it a tap. Yeah, both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah.
It's just a tap. Yeah.
You got taps or faucets. Probably both. Oh, I just went black there. Hold on. Don't be scared. That happens a lot around here. Yeah, tap is pretty common. All right. Any other words that you can think of? And then what I want to do, let's check out the comments for a second.
Yeah.
If anybody has anything they want to ask either of us, and if you've been listening for some time now, you can see that Michael is very knowledgeable. I highly recommend that you check out his channel. You get more of that. It's really great, really great content. So thank you just for the content you make. It's great.
Thanks.
Definitely. Oh, here we go. Yeah, definitely first world convenience. If I'm buying a $2,000 cube, I'm not hurting. So definitely, some people don't have running water, period. So
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, often it's a wish list item. It's a nice to have if it's in the budget. If that's kind of a thing that people want to splurge. Didn't you do a video? It's one of that. It's a splurge. It's a splurge item. Yeah.
All right, Michael, I have some rapid fire questions. Rapid fire. I wouldn't say questions. These are just words. You'll see as we get in. So the object here is, I'm going to say the thing, and you're going to, first thing that comes to your mind. We didn't discuss these.
No, I have no idea. No idea.
Don't be scared.
This is the worrying part. Yeah.
No, this will be easy. So these will either get you in trouble or make you loved forever. So here we go. The first one is white kitchens.
Okay. The classic and timeless. I would say you can't go wrong with a white kitchen. I would also say I've designed a lot of white kitchens, so I like it when somebody goes for something else, but I understand a white kitchen.
All right, cool, awesome.
That's
good
quite
answer.
Diplomatic, wasn't
Very
it?
diplomatic answer. I love it. All right, next one. Ooh.
Oh wow!
Floating shelves. Tell me.
Gosh,
I can see behind you.
You're the expert on this. I mean, luckily they're not in my kitchen. I suppose maybe that's the saving grace of these.
Okay, good.
I mean, they look lovely, and I've done, countless floating shelves for people. It looks great, and I'm all for it. I think it depends on who you are and your lifestyle. If it's practical.
100%.
And to some extent where they are in the kitchen, you know.
Yeah.
If they're away from your cooking area, that helps a bit. But just who you are. If you can style them and that's what you're into, and clean them,
Right.
more power to you. Or if you
Right.
have a cleaner, I mean, aren't you the lucky one? But just be aware that they're going to get greasy. So depends on who you are. Love the look of them.
I love that answer. Depends.
Depends.
Yeah, on who you
I'm
are.
just going to keep going.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Depends, maybe.
That's very true. Okay, here's one I want to bring up. Integrated appliances.
Just the correct decision. Yeah, that's that
Oh.
For
Awesome.
certain appliances,
No, you don't have to explain anymore. That's all I needed to hear. That was perfect.
Obviously, range cookers and
Yeah.
and that's a whole style in itself, which is cool.
Cool.
But if we're talking dishwashers,
yeah, you can see mine, a peak of mine behind me there.
They should be integrated.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Talk about me. What's this? IKEA. What's this IKEA I keep hearing about?
This is it. I mean, obviously we have it here. I assume it's the same sort of. I've not really checked if there's any difference between the two. I did look. Our sizes are centimeters and are what I would call standard sizes, which is, we might get onto that, but I think maybe differ from you. But yeah, budget-friendly kitchens.
While we're on the top, while I have this word up, IKEA, it brings me to the sizing. And for North America, IKEA has some different size options that I wouldn't have been used to. I'm getting much more used to them because I'm doing a lot of IKEA designs lately. Talk to us real quick about the standards. Like, are IKEA standards standard across Europe, or is it specific to IKEA? You know,
I'll be honest, I don't have much experience with IKEA kitchens. So I've not dealt with IKEA kitchens in my career. I've always done either it's the specific company I've worked for, their own kitchens, or I've worked for independent kitchen companies where they have what I would call standard cabinets. They have a cabinet manufacturer, and we have doors from loads of different companies. People come and choose the door, send the door to the cabinet manufacturer, they put it on, and then send the whole thing.
Okay. So
IKEA I'm not as familiar with, just to be upfront.
So IKEA, their depth of their wall cabinets is 38 centimeters. Is that standard across Europe, or at least?
I'd say that's probably slightly deeper than standard. Again, it is difficult because every kitchen kind of company or design or style, the sizes may differ slightly. What I would kind of say is a classic standard depth for a wall cabinet would be 33 centimeters.
33. Oh, okay.
So it's slightly deep. I would say slightly deeper than a standard. Yeah.
Okay, because most of the RTA companies ready to assemble, most of the sizes in North America are fairly standard across the board as far as the widths that come standard, the heights that come standard, and the depth is normally 12 inches, which is 30 centimeters. And then the door, which might add, maybe that would bring it to your 33.
Yeah, that's probably,
So going to the 15 centimeter or the 38 centimeter deep wall cabinets. I'm learning how to use centimeters. It's very difficult. Was definitely, for people retrofitting or changing, is definitely different. I just didn't know if it was across the board.
And I'd say, I mean, again, you can, the companies may provide options. So you could have, they might do a 38 centimeter deep option. But I think that's nice, in a wall cabinet. It means it kind of gives you that little bit of space for, full-size dining plates and things for storage.
Yeah.
Like that. That's really helpful.
I'm getting more used to it. In fact, the more and more I design with IKEA, I like it more and more. All right, here's the next one.
Japandi. What do I think of Japan?
Tell me.
I'm a fan.
All right.
I think. I'm a fan. There's no other way around it. I do like Japandi. How we kind of style our house here is a kind of, I suppose, a mix of Scandi, Japandi, minimalist sort of thing. Mostly kind of minimalist with little trinkets and things like that. But yeah, big fan of Japandi.
Okay, awesome. Now this next one, tell me, not just countertop, but what type? What type of worktop or countertop is the go-to? What do you recommend?
My go-to is usually quartz. I would say, I don't know, eight out of 10 times clients go for quartz. I really recommend quartz. I think it's great. Really tough stuff, huge amount of choice. Yes, obviously it's more expensive than laminate, but it's not, depending on what you go for, there are, different price bands and things. So you've got some room, but huge amount of choice, tough stuff, versatile. Quartz is probably my go-to.
Okay, awesome. And this is the last one. Now we've talked about this, but yes or no?
Me personally,
Yeah.
no.
Is it a look? Is it a look thing?
It's a look thing, yeah.
Right.
I would go for an undermount, just because my style is a little bit more contemporary.
Okay.
But I've done hundreds of farmhouse sinks.
Yeah.
For a company I used to work for in London, they were much more, kind of not traditional, classic. It depends how you can dress them up as well. Putting different things, like even down to door handles and stuff like that, can totally change the look of a kitchen.
Right.
But that company was like all about the farmhouse sink. So
okay.
Maybe I've just seen it too much.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of them in my time. Specifically where I'm at, it's not a big thing. I'd say undermount sinks in some kind of stone is the go-to. And,
okay. In like a worktop material, so like a quartz, or in like a composite type thing?
In quartz.
Wow.
The acrylic composites with the flush sink, like a Corian material, that has been popular, but less and less. The more quartz was pushed in the market, it definitely, that market share went down a lot. And to the point where we hardly ever would sell it at all.
I don't really touch Corian anymore.
No, and quartz seemed to be the go-to, and it still is. I think it is. It's the number one choice for consumers right now. And people have their opinions on it. I don't know. I have laminate in my kitchen, so I shouldn't even be talking about this stuff. I have laminate. It's been fine. I've never had a problem with it. Though I would like a stone, but
would like a what? Sorry.
I would like a stone countertop.
Right. Yeah.
But
just what practicals, or you want an undermount sink, or?
I don't know. I would like an undermount sink. One with.
Do you have compact laminate out there? So compact laminate is still laminate, but it's thinner. It's about 20 mil thick, and you can have undermount sinks with it.
Really?
Yeah, it's solid. It's the way it's constructed. It's solid through. So it's a particular type of laminate. The way it's constructed, you can do undermount sinks with it.
It'd be
it's another
newer.
option.
I know
definitely. It's definitely
thinner.
newer. Yeah.
There is thinner. They've tried for years to come up with a way to undermount sinks on laminate post-form tops, but there's never been one that's been great.
No,
they tried doing a Corian ring, that would laminate into the hole. Never really took off.
The other thing with if you have a molded sink with Corian, or I should say other brands are available, but you can have a boiling water tap. So, or you can, but you'd have to have a stainless steel bottom to the sink to be able to have the boiling water tap.
Right, I've seen those.
So that was another thing.
Awesome. Let's just look at a couple questions. Oh, here's one. All right. Hi, Diane. In the U.S., kitchens are used for cooking, eating, homework, and needed for resale to have nice kitchen. How important is kitchen in Europe?
Oh, the same.
For resale too?
Yeah, it's in studies and things, it normally comes up, the number one room in the house to help sell a house, and that's the room that kind of makes or breaks the sale. If you're going to invest in your kitchen and all of that kind of thing. Yeah.
Someone had commented on a video once, and I don't know if you've seen Jeff over at Homestead. He just did an interview with a company in South Africa with like removable standalone kitchen pieces.
Oh, right.
And someone had commented to me once that in Europe, you take your kitchen with you, or in some countries at least, you take your kitchen. Is that something that happens a lot? Because then it wouldn't matter
Not in the UK, but yeah, definitely. It's something I know in, because I used to have a colleague that is Italian, and yeah, that was the done thing. You know, that when they would move house, part of the move would be to move their kitchen.
Wow.
You know, the cabinets and stuff. It was, yeah, different kind of
Yeah,
thing.
okay. Because I would think, like, what if it doesn't fit in the new place?
Yeah, right. You know, I suppose, yeah, work with what you've got and tweak it slightly, but it's
Yeah.
an odd concept to me. And I mean, yeah, for the most part
Okay.
here, no, they're fixed kitchens. You
Okay.
know?
Yeah. So same resale value.
Yeah, it's important to
Kitchen's
the
used for
house.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's always, it's, you know, it's the main room of the house, the heart of the home, as we always say. And
Right. It is here. Everything
Yeah.
happens in the kitchen. We have a particular thing that happens, particularly in our area, called a kitchen party, and you know, and that's just that thing. It's just a community in the kitchen. It's where we all
Right.
gather. Kyle's saying that he's agreed. Farmhouse has gotten pretty overdone. Yeah, they're overdone, but they're still really popular. You know, people.
Yeah, absolutely. They're great sinks. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
it's a workhorse of a sink. It's a strong option.
Yeah.
It's just for me, like I say, maybe because I've done so many, you know, in my career, that I don't know. And it's a style thing at the end of the day.
It is. Yeah.
What, you know, it doesn't matter
What do you like?
what we think.
It depends.
It depends.
Yeah,
That's
it
the word.
depends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Listen, I want to thank everyone who's been commenting and just in the chat. And I don't know if there's any other questions I want to look at here. But really appreciate you guys hanging out and asking questions, just chatting, even if it's amongst yourselves in the chat. Any comments that you want to add in the when this goes to replay, leave them in the comment section below, and love to try to answer your questions. Michael, it's been really cool chatting with you, and it's been great to have you on. This is a really fun conversation.
Yeah, same.
I hope anyone watching has enjoyed it, but just getting some different perspectives from other people in the industry and other designers is really interesting. And hopefully you'll come on again in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and we can chat some more about kitchens.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Yeah. Everyone who's watching, please go check out Michael's channel. Honestly, you won't regret it. It's great content, and this one of the cool things about YouTube we were chatting about earlier before we went live is just you get to meet just people that you'd never necessarily get to meet, even people who are in the chat, and then other content creators like yourself. It's really cool to be able to do that. So
yeah,
to everyone, I do want to say hi to my buddy Rob, Yo. Rob's my best friend, so
nice.
thanks for showing up, Rob. Love you, man. And just everybody, really appreciate you watching. We're going to end the live stream. Go check out Michael's channel. There'll be some links in the description below that you can do that, and I'll probably throw a card on the screen when this goes up. So thank you so much. We'll take off, and we'll see you on the channel. Bye, everyone.